Let's see if it works. Hey, there it is. All right, so welcome everybody to the EarthBound Super Series 2017. This is going to be a glitchless race to the Boogie Tent after Jeff joins. Be about anywhere from an hour 10 to an hour 20 run, I imagine. We're about halfway through the first round here, so we've had some pretty decent races, a lot of good coverage. It's been really fun so far. A little bit about these two racers. Admiral's very new to the category, from what I understand. Hunter is still, kind of on the newer side of runners, but he's definitely got some experience under his belt. Definitely a strong-willed, full glitchless runner. He's done a lot of full runs, does races every week, so Hunter knows his way around the game quite a bit. So I think if anything, Vice might be the underdog here, but it's anyone's race, really.
One of the fantastic things that this category does is it removes the RNG manipulation that more experienced runners would put out. So it levels the playing field. When you're doing the RNG manipulation, you're taking the same path through ONET to allow you to take that 30-minute ONET and reduce it down to about 18 minutes. Here, both runners do not have that advantage and will have to respond to everything that gets in their way and adapt to the situation, leveling the playing field for more experience to the newer runners.
Yeah, it's a nice little introduction category. Nothing too daunting as far as like things to learn. As long as you know a good little bit about EarthBound, you can do this fairly easily with some practice. Nice little playing field in this category.
Story-wise for EarthBound so far, it has some kind of regular trope. Some kind of exciting thing happens outside, and being a young kid, Ness is going to go check it out in his PJs and go back to bed, and all of a sudden things change and you're off on your adventure.
Yeah, nothing too crazy in terms of action in the first good 4 minutes here. Just some initial, here's the story, here's what you got to do, and we'll get to some action here once Ness gets out of his gym jams. What we're going to see outside here, initially in the hill, we're going to see like basically the three different types of enemy patterns throughout the game. It's a nice little intro. We're going to see the swoopers, the stutterers, and just kind of the beeliners, I like to call them, being the crows, the dogs, and the snakes. So the game initially just kind of throws like, okay, here's what you're going to have to deal with throughout this game. Here's the three enemy movement patterns.
Later on, after we get out of ONET, we'll see some of the more complex movement patterns that can build on as well.
And those dogs, the beeliners. This snake up here is a stutterable enemy. There's a lot of those throughout the game. And if we see any crows, those will be the swoopers. A nice despawn there for Hunter. That's a tricky corner there. Oh, and Vice gets caught up by a jerk bird. But that corner that Hunter despawned back there's a lot of spawn tiles there, so it's nice to get through there fairly quickly. Crow's probably the most dangerous of the enemies that you could fight here. Their speed is super high compared to where you're at, and so they're hard to hit. They hit you pretty hard, and it's probably the most common way to die. So these crows running away is going to be tough with how high their speed is.
One of the more annoying features of the bird is the ability to steal your items. So if you happen to take the bread roll that's on the hill before completing your hill walk, you can end up one less bread roll that could be useful later on.
We're getting a little visual glitch there from Hunter. Those are known as the swag bolts. A little visual glitch you can do with the second controller there.
AdmiralVyse here will be taking the second attempt up the hill here. Hopefully the spawns will be a little more cooperative for Vyse.
And those crows are tricky. Sometimes they'll aggro you, sometimes they won't. And a lot of the time it's very hard to tell the difference whether they are aggroing you or not. Snake is stutterable. There you go, that crow gets stuck behind the tree. It's clear to go with that one.
You'll see on Hunter's side, now that he made it up to the meteorite and got Buzz, the walk down is completely clear. All spawns are off at that point until you reach the scripted encounter here with Starman Jr.
As far as glitchless is concerned, you can't die to this fight. It's pretty straightforward. You just hit the auto fight button and hope for good RNG, basically. But you'll never die to this.
Overall, Starman Jr. has 200 hit points and 999 psychic points, so he will always be able to do psychic attacks, but you have to put a lot of effort into losing to Starman Jr., basically grinding yourself up to level 8 and getting a power shield to cancel out Buzz's psychic shield.
Yeah, it would be very intentional if you lost to this fight. You'd have to do some work to do so. So I guess you could kind of consider it the, typical intro boss fight to an RPG. Game kind of holds your hand through it. Looks like Hunter just getting sub 8 Starman Jr. time, which is a very, very solid time to have. On average, pretty decent Starman time is 7 minutes 45 to about 8 minutes 8:20. More typically, you'll see like 8.5, 9 minutes.
One of the random factors to consider is just how many turns is it going to take for Buzz to kill Starman Jr. On average, you're hoping for about 3. Perfectly, you can get 2 rounds, but you're hoping for 3 or 4.
The two cycle, as some people call it, is a little more rare than you'd expect. So Vyse making his way down the hill is gonna get to the Starman Jr. fight himself soon here.
Hunter is encountering the second wall of text for the game, which you have 2 options to select yes or no. You need to be aware as you're mashing through this text that you hit yes for the first time and no for the second time. If you answer either one of those questions wrong, it sends you back to the beginning of the text wall to mash through it again. It does that a couple points throughout the game to make sure you're paying attention. You can very easily end up in an infinite text loop, especially the first time you're doing this.
I definitely see that a lot in people's first playthroughs. They're just kind of mashing through it and like, why isn't this dialogue over? It's like, oh, you have to actually press no for something. Another kind of interesting mechanic to this game, you can automatically choose yes by pressing A or the L trigger, and automatically choose no without moving the cursor with B or select. So we'll kind of see that throughout the run, with people saying yes and no, particularly no to things with B and select without having to move their cursor.
I do have to say, it is very nice to have 4 buttons to push to advance text at all times.
Quite so. I think that would be okay, Bless. So Hunter kind of doing his first bit of shopping here. He's going to stock up on some items, get himself ready for on it. He's going to sell that baseball cap. He's going to uptrade and get himself a little more defense with how much that hat sells for.
Hunter there making a little bit of a wide swing there, working to avoid the spawn plate that would spawn a shark there, going straight for the shark that's underneath the arcade.
You'll see kind of a lot of very specific movements throughout the run, especially the glitchless run, where mainly just avoiding spawn tiles with those movements. And Hunter has a good first pogo punk fight. That fight can be a little tricky with where your levels are at.
A little thing to note, the first shark encounter that Hunter did outside the arcade is not necessarily mandatory, but it does set up the experience in such a way that when you defeat Frank outside, it gives you a level boost and a little bit of extra psychic points and HP when you go into Frankenstein Mark II.
Yeah, and those pogo punk fights are guaranteed hamburger drops, so it's nice to get that extra little item as well.
Frank here can be a little bit stabby, brandishing a knife more often than we would like, taking easily half the HP away. When you're fighting Frank, anytime you take any bit of damage, whether it's 10 or half of your life, you're going to want to heal up. Otherwise, you're risking Frank being able to kill you the next turn, especially if Ness misses.
So I'm seeing some questions about scrolling HP in chat. Basically, the difference between the HP mechanic in EarthBound and, say, any other, well, not any other, but most other RPGs of the day is you take lethal damage, you're dead. In EarthBound, if you take lethal damage, at whatever you're at, the counter you see on the HP meter is going to physically tick down, so it actually buys you some time to do some tricky things in battle. So you don't just immediately die to moves unless it's like an auto kill. You have to wait for the HP meter to tick down.
Later on in the game, you do also have to keep in mind it works in reverse because your HP will tick up, and if you start mashing through the battles, you can very easily die again very quickly.
Yeah, there's definitely the other side of HP ticking up, and you don't want to, cut that process off too soon. You want to get your maximum HP fill, so you kind of have to wait for that to happen as well. So somewhat similar to weight tricking in like Final Fantasy VI, but with a different twist on it, different kind of effect. You are waiting, and it's a trick, but it's mostly just to keep your HP in manageable positions. In the safe zone, if you get hit for lethal, and the mash out heal is in EarthBound is roughly about 23 HP and above, you'll be safe. If you're at 20, 22, you're in a really sketchy area of mashing.
And then I would say if it becomes a smash attack, you're done, right? The extra
Absolutely.
frames from that.
Absolutely, yeah. So Vice is in kind of a sticky situation here. You can see him kind of thinking about it. He's within lethal range, but not sure if he should heal. Luckily he got it off. So basically, if you're at 20 HP or below and you get hit for lethal, there's no way to recover. That's an actual rip.
Story-wise, for Hunter, now that you've defeated the Sharks and taken care of the local gang, the mayor will take credit for what you did, and in return, you'll get the key to the broken-down shack outside of Giant Step, which is where you happen to want to go. Along the way, Hunter will do some shopping for burgers, fill up on the healing items in preparation for Giant Step.
Vice has no psychic points. I'm not sure how he plans on handling this. Hopefully he gets kind of lucky, but no psychic points is pretty tough here.
Yeah, does Vice have any extra burgers?
He has a couple. And unfortunately, that's just a tough situation to be in. I'm not sure where he burned all his psychic points, but yeah, he can't go into Frank with no magic.
Yeah, I think during the Pogo Punks, it looked like Vice used up life ups instead of using the bread roll or burgers for that point.
I see. Yeah, you really want to save those life ups for Frank. Really max out on those heals. So Hunter entering pretty much the first and only grinding section of the run. He's going to be looking to get 22 slugs here to hit level 8. That's going to give him enough levels to fight the boss here.
For AdmiralVyse, to add insult to injury, the first time you die in Daytime Onet, you have to hit that photo trigger on the way out and just take that additional time as you make your way back to Frank.
Sadly, there's no way to skip that photo at this point in the game. So Hunter kind of sort of exploiting a mechanic here where the slugs will actually aggro on to slugs that are on other floors, so you can just one-shot them, and that actually gives you a higher chance for 1 in 128 bomb drop. The reason he was isolating those slugs was because they were trying to aggro with a pack that was on the second floor.
With the slug grind, there's a couple different approaches that different runners take. You can stay on the bottom floor and do 4 packs the entire way. You can do a progressive climb, grab a 6-pack at the top. Temple, what's your preferred method of the slug grind?
I like the boing method. 12 on the first floor, 4 on the second floor, 6 on the third.
I tried that yesterday. I got punished with a Antoid and a Rowdy Mouse on those ropes on the way up.
Yeah, it's definitely not the safest way to do it, but it is very fast. It doesn't always work out. So I guess this is the jams method of using spawns on the second floor. Single fights are faster, yes. Oof, kind of a tricky red swirl there. The bomb drops that you can get off these slugs are actually per fight, so even if you fight 4 slugs, it's just 1 in 128 chance, but if you can isolate them, it gives you a better chance at that.
AdmiralVyse taking down Frank, moving on to Frankenstein Mark II. Frankenstein Mark II is a scripted fight. Every odd turn, 1, 3, 5, will be generating a burst of steam, and every even turn will be an attack. The first one guaranteed to be a punch for around 15, 16 HP. Other than that, it'll be a 50-50 coin flop between a low damage attack or a high damage attack for around 35.
Hunter having just great slug luck here. I think he's up to about 18 to 20 if my count is correct. And he's just farming all the slugs down here. He's got that 4-pack right there. It's working out great for him.
After seeing this, I may need to change my strategy.
Wow, this is great.
As fast as this is, he still has to get through the Titanic Ant, though.
That's kind of how you have to approach this run, is one victory at a time. Okay, so my count was wrong. He wasn't up near 1820, but he's very close. Wow.
This is just amazing.
Perhaps some new tech from Hunter here. Oh, that was level 8. And these slugs just keep on coming, even if he doesn't want them. Yeah, he's about to frame off that. He can't do much about that. Too much lag on screen.
You saw Hunter open up the status menu there. What Hunter was doing was checking the offense level of Ness. When you reach 24 offense at level 8, you're able to instantly kill single Antoid fights. There is a chance that Ness can have 23 offense, and then at that point, you're not able to instantly kill Antoids, and you have to work your way around them on the upper floors.
Just an embarrassment of riches here for Hunter. He just slug spawns everywhere. It's a tough starter here for Hunter. You get some enemies here. Yeah, it's tricky. Lots of lag on screen right now.
Certainly using those iframes to his advantage to distance himself from the enemies.
It looks like he has 24 offense as well. I believe that was an ant he auto-killed.
Yeah, that was what, 37 experience points?
37.
At this rate, Hunter may hit level 9 before getting to Titanic Ant.
I was gonna say, with that first floor, he might be looking at level 9 strats. Just take all those fights and get a 6-pack on floor 3, but he's gonna opt to save some time, just go right for the throat.
Out on this plateau here is an almost guaranteed butterfly spawn. We use that spot here to refill the psychic points, and you can simply walk off screen to respawn the butterfly.
So as Hunter approaches Titanic Ant here, his general strategy for Titanic Ant, he's going to open with a Rockin'. He's going to see what happens first turn from Ant. From there, he's probably just going to try to life up with a hamburger, not with an actual life up, and get some Rockins off. Get at least 2 Rockins off. Maybe have enough for a life up afterwards, and just kind of bash it out, stay alive, eat those hamburgers. Titanic Ant is a notoriously difficult fight. No matter the caliber of the Earthbound runner, this is a great equalizer boss fight in on it. So probably hamburger with that 22. So this damage gets 81, above average. Titanic Ant has about 230 HP, so it serves you well to keep track of his HP. Hunter going for that hamburger. No magnet so far, so it looks like he's going to be able to get that life up off, which is good. 63. So Ant's at about 140, roughly. There's that magnet, worked out nicely.
We're hoping here that Titanic Ant does not put up a power shield to reduce the amount of damage that Hunter can do in half.
The power shield's crippling. It reduces your damage to about 10, and it burns up 3 turns before it goes away. You have to hit the shield 3 times for it to go away, or crit which is a tough, rare thing to happen. Nest with a couple misses here on Ant, so that's kind of where Hunter's fallen behind here. And there's that shield.
And the shields do stack, so now it's up to 6 hits to remove that shield.
That's correct.
9. 12.
Yeah, basically infinite at this point. And there's that smash. So working out for Hunter, I think he used probably more burgers than he would have liked to, but you know, it's just to be alive after Titanic Ant is a victory in and of itself.
If Hunter were to take a death here, this is one of the longest spots to walk back to recover from.
As far as on it deaths go, Titanic Ant and anything to cops is gonna cripple your time. Just because you have to do the walk of shame back through everything. Yeah, Ant got very shieldy there. And the misses from Nest didn't help him too much. I believe I counted 2 in there. So Hunter likely gonna go buy a couple more burgers. We'll see what he feels is safe. He just checked. Look, he got 2 there. I don't know what he has left over for cash from buying the burgers before. So we'll see what he goes for.
I think
here.
at this point he should probably have enough for 2 extra burgers based on the good Frank fight he had. So we'll see if he picks up the extra cash to pick up more.
Yeah, it's definitely risky fighting Ant at level 8. I'd say it's recommended to do it at 9, but for speedrun purposes, you just do it as early as possible. Level 8 is definitely a difficult level to fight Ant at. That's why you see so many people die to that fight. Even just, we have weekly races, and I think every week almost someone gets wrecked to Ant, if not more.
For some runners, I believe Ant has a nasty habit of opening with 2 smash attacks, and sometimes there's very little you can do against that.
It's true, you're not necessarily safe at level 9 either. Very, very RNG heavy fight, and Ant is a malicious beast.
AdmiralVyse just reached a level 8 and has 24 offense as well, so Vice will be able to take on single Antoids and make his way over to Titanic Ant now, unfortunately getting red swirled.
Looks like Hunter did pick up some extra cash, got himself some extra burgers, which is going to serve him well for these cops coming up. So the general strategy with cops, they basically have a crushing chop attack, which hits you pretty heavily, 30 and upwards. And they have a normal attack. You want to keep your HP just about 55, 60, and then you're kind of looking at either hamburgers or life ups. You're just hoping to not get too many crushing chops here and just bash out each fight. Typically about 3 bashes will kill a cop. Or tame the cop. And Hunter getting a really, really nice smash there. That always feels good. One shot a cop in this game. So this cop being pretty aggressive with Hunter. Lots of chops here. That's his 3rd chop in a row. That's number 4. Nessa had enough apparently. That's where you get into a bit of trouble when they just chain chops onto you and it's tough to recover with just hamburgers. Hunter opting for the life up.
In an ideal world, you want to reach Captain Strong with at least 20 psychic points to be able to pull off 2 Rockins. But if the cops have drained your resources, living is a little bit of a higher priority, and bashing your way through at the end can be used.
There's a chance for a hamburger drop. I believe it's 1 in 16. So you don't see it too often, but sometimes you get lucky in that aspect as well. Another great smash for Hunter. So he's got enough for 2 Rockins and a life up for Captain Strong, and he's at pretty decent health. So if Strong opens up with a strong attack, he can hopefully menu out a life up for himself. Alright, good first turn. Very clean cops for Hunter.
A nice free Captain Strong fight and a 30-minute O-net, which is a very good strong time to be leaving O-net with.
Definitely. You got two smashes on 2 of the cops, which is very, very helpful. Typically, what you'll see from Strong is a couple really heavy attacks, and it can really ruin you.
And Vyse takes down Titanic Ant without an additional death, so Vyse will now be able to move on to the O-net cops.
So Hunter again popping open his menu, checking out what he's got left for burgers. Looks like he's all set. He's probably looking at if he needs to grab this one. I assume he won't, but you never know. Okay, he grabs it.
Could be useful if he gets stuck into an encounter without having picked up any extra psychic points up first.
Yeah, can't hurt to be safe there. Free burger. Yeah, I'm sure the burger fairy, I'm sure, keeps that present well stocked every day. Nice and fresh, hot burgers in that present in the forest. So you saw Hunter make a phone call there. It kind of serves 2 purposes. It is kind of a safety save in case things go haywire. He doesn't want to go all the way back to on it, which would happen if he didn't save. And he's also setting up for a death warp that he'll use post Car Painter. I'm just kind of advancing the storyline here. He's going to talk to Applecade, search out a pencil eraser, and then erase that pencil with a pencil eraser. Vyse is going to grab some more burgers, stock up for the cop fight. Looks like he can only get 2. I'm not sure what he had left over, but I hope that's enough. I'd say that the safe zone for burgers for cops is anywhere from like 6 to 8, but you know, it's happened with less and it's taken more, so you never know.
Yeah, if you're definitely going with less resources, you just hope the cops give you the 1 in 16 drop for the burger to give you that additional resource.
Yeah, you definitely see some runners risk it with 4 or 5 and have no problem doing so.
Hunter has now entered everyone's favorite area, Peaceful Rest Valley. At this point, it's looking pretty peaceful, but this area is filled with higher level spawns due to leaving O-net at a lower level than expected. You've got UFOs, you've got sprouts, whirling robos, and trees that can chase you down.
Peaceful Rest Valley, one of those areas in the game with just a ton of enemy spawn tiles, so you just constantly despawning through that area. Yeah, Admiral definitely cutting it close with some of these, some of his HP values with these cops, but that's working out for him.
Unfortunately, Admiral seems to be having the notorious nest misses with his accuracy with that baseball bat at times.
Still haven't gotten a look at how many burgers he has.
It looked like he had a full inventory of it going into cops there, if not one short.
So he's got plenty. Oh yeah, he's good.
Hunter just picked up the pencil eraser, a convenient plot device to remove the roadblock that's in the way for this backtracking session. So Hunter will now proceed to that pencil eraser, erase it, and make his way over to Happy Happy Village.
He's gonna have kind of a treacherous journey through PRV, the rest of PRV, to get to Happy Happy. And then we kind of see Strong on Vice's side with what he typically does, which is open up with some heavy hitters. Hopefully this rockin' hits. Oh yeah, quite so. And Vice has made it out of on it. The great speed bump in this entire speed run.
Even though Vice is behind by about 6 minutes, there's still plenty of opportunities for Vice to catch up. A fun little fact about the cops, though, the 5th cop actually has battle dialogue programmed, like how each of them walks up to the nest with battle dialogue. It's like, go, go, ugh, oops, I mean, let's go. A fun little fact there.
I never knew that.
Yeah, you can actually come across it in like the room randomizer with the cops set up.
Oh,
so it's not something you can encounter in normal play, but it's there.
It makes sense that you run into it in randomizer. So, as well as tons of enemy spawn tiles in PRV, the game does kind of throw you a bone and also throws tons of butterfly spawn tiles, which they'll recover 20 psychic points. It makes it pretty easy to just, get your psychic points, life up, get in a fight, get your psychic points, life up, rinse, repeat if you have to.
Hunter there with some very deft maneuvering there, using the advantage that you can outwalk the trees and having the whirling Robo Diamond pinned against the rock because it was on lock-on mode, going straight at Ness.
Yeah, those whirling Robos have that, swooping enemy pattern we were talking about earlier. So if they get stuck on a wall, you can get really, really close to them because they're not going to be able to move around that corner or anything. They're stuck there.
Those UFOs as well, you're able to outspeed if you're walking vertically. Horizontal, forget about it. They can swing right into you with no problem.
And UFO is another one of those enemies early in the game with a ridiculously high speed stat. So you really can't, even if you get into the fight, it's extremely difficult to run away from that fight.
At that point, you're hoping you can get a rocking off if you recover the psychic points, and that the high amount of speed doesn't cancel out Ness's ability to hit with rocking.
That's kind of the double whammy with that high speed, is that the rocking has a higher chance to miss with the higher enemy speed.
I believe rocking is the only PSI ability that's based off of character's speed stat.
I believe it. It can also kind of work for you with the enemies that eventually cast rockin'. Your speed, high speed, can kind of negate a lot of those rockins that come from enemies.
Hunter is now getting into what we in the community affectionately refer to as shack fight. Pokey leaves you with 2 cultists and a crow. The opening move is going to be rocking, and then Hunter will be evaluating what's left after that and making a decision from there.
Despite being called the shack fight, there are 0 Shaquille O'Neals involved, unfortunately.
Fortunately, Hunter was able to bash out the second cultist and leaving him with a high amount of psychic points going into the next part of the happy encounters.
Yeah, the way RNG worked out there kind of allowed him to conserve extra psychic points, which is going to work out for him. It's one of those things you see a lot in this run is, you know, you're able to read and react to certain situations and be able to, you know, do certain things that are going to help you in the future. And Vice getting stuck with those plants there, one of those enemies you cannot stutter past. They are the beeliner. So they're going to come straight at you anytime you're in their aggro radius. Hunter gets a first turn call for help. He's going to have to burn that extra rock and that he held on to. Which still works out, because if you didn't have that spare psychic points, he'd be down a rockin' for Car Painter, which is much worse. And there he goes. I guess he's hoping to get an extra 5 psychic points off this level up. Or he just wanted that cultist dead, I don't know.
Yeah, being stuck in with those 2 cultists, if Ness started to miss with the bat, that could have ended very poorly, quickly.
Yeah. Looks like he just wanted to get that fight over with. Don't mess around, don't get cultist E. Those cultists really like calling for help, and you cannot run away from those fights. They are scripted boss enemies. So the game does not let you run away.
Hunter will now be entering the battle with Car Painter, which is a completely scripted boss fight. Car Painter has about 262 HP and will open up with a Crash Boom attack. You're hoping Car Painter will hit you with that attack. There's a 25% chance that the lightning will hit, and for every party member you gain, that percentage for lightning to hit goes up 25%. So by the time you get to 4 party members, you're at 100%.
And the Franklin badge that Paula gave Ness is what's going to allow that lightning to be used on Car Painter instead.
That was close.
Hunter, they're exploiting the rolling HP mechanic and getting himself a life up before he died. So Car Painter, another big gatekeeper for this run. It's one of those boss fights. You kind of breathe a big sigh of relief once that fight is over. You kind of get to move on and progress with the story, where that fight can definitely kill you a lot of the times. And Hunter opting for the skip sandwich. It's one of those hotly debated items in this category. So people say you don't need it at all. Other people grab it just to use it. Varies by runner. Some people just, they're glitchless. Muscle memory kicks in and they just grab it. So you never know.
Yeah, I'm of the camp is I thought it always wasted time by the time you get the text box to pick it up and the menu to use it. The amount of time that it boosts your speed kind of cancels out and loses a second or two was my thought, but I may be wrong.
I think it's the people who maybe use it, it's more of a tactical thing. It's less about saving time and more about, if I get in this tough spot, I'm able to skip sandwich my way out of it.
True, I could see that being very useful, especially like in the graveyard part.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, the storyline basically at this point in the game is you've learned about the evil Manny statue, and this is a tool of the end boss Gygus to control the minds of various enemies throughout the game. It's the golden statue that was behind Car Painter. You see it numerous times throughout the run. It's kind of a figurative thing for Ness's inner demons. Spoilers.
Not the spoilers.
No, not on this 22-year-old game.
Now I'll never know how to beat it untainted.
Yeah, so basically any human you see fighting in this game is they're under the influence of the Manny Manny statue. So Hunter going for the death warp here. Looks like he's having a great time. That mole was very aggressive, and not much more to say about that. I mean, I wish I could have explained it more, but Mole did his job, killed Hunter, and now he avoids the walk all the way back to Tucson, and there he is.
Yeah, notoriously, that mole can waste rounds upon rounds upon rounds, adding minutes of time if he decides to be absent-minded. So the luck was on Hunter's side.
I definitely recommend giving this game a playthrough. I think it kind of gets glossed over, and there's definitely a lot of cool storyline, really fun characters. Great. I mean, the game all around is just fantastic. Fun, really fun speedrun as well. Always different. It's like playing a randomizer every time you fire up a run.
For good and for worse.
Yep.
AdmiralVyse looks like having some difficulty with the PRV spawns, trying to despawn them, but they just won't go away.
Yeah, PRV notorious for putting you in pincer situations where no matter what direction you go, you're gonna have to fight something. So it's one of those areas you've got to be very careful with your movement, your knowledge of enemy movement patterns. It's very, very important, and it's gonna lead to you getting through more often.
Just gotta remember not to get too overconfident. Every now and then you get smacked, and you gotta learn that respect from PRV.
Yeah, you'll get a string of good PRVs, and you're like, oh man, this area is not so bad. I got this part down, and then the game just destroys you several times over. Hunter seems like kind of a weird movement there, but he's actually avoiding a photo trigger that is just south of the entrance of the theater there. Again, one of those very small, specific movements that you see everywhere throughout the run that runners do. Yeah, so the reason we have this category, Boogie Percent, is that the glitchless category is very lengthy. Even for experienced runners, it's upwards of 4 hours, and for newer runners, it can be 6, 8, 10 hours sometimes. So just to keep it simple and keep the races short, we just go to Boogie Percent here. Keeps it just about to a quarter of the run.
It's a great demonstration of all the tech that you'll be using throughout the game, and a quick experience of everything that you could come to expect of the game.
And it turns out the difficulty ramps up quite a bit right after Boogie Tent, so it's a nice little cutoff point for new runners. Threed Cave, which is right after Boogie Tent, is just absolute nightmare for all runners, experienced and new alike.
Hunter's going through the Runaway 5 show. In the Mother 2 version of the game, they're known as the Tanzura brothers and are in all black suits. Temple, I think you know what's coming. I've asked everyone else, what do you prefer, the Tanzura brothers in the sleek black suits or the Runaway 5 in their colored suits?
Definitely the Tanzura brothers. I like the sleek black style and the non-Mario and Luigi ripoff of their style.
I'm Nintendo all the way. I love the Mario and Luigi ripoff style. I think it brings out personality in them.
To each their own. So I see a question, why is it 5 when there's 6? You see there's 5 here. The other guy is the house drummer and keyboarder known as Drumboardist. He's not actually in the band. He's he's the other guy.
Once again, Hunter swung wide to avoid the photo trigger that was there. There's two options, left side bus, right side bus, or the third one that's not really an option, go through the trigger.
Yeah, and you see kind of a new movement there. For a really long time, the movement to avoid that photo trigger was to go underneath the light post. That's just underneath Runaway 5 guy. But upon further inspection of the photo trigger, we found we can actually cut it and go above the light post, which saves you roughly, let's say, half a second if it goes well. Not huge, but a nice little optimization that's come out recently. But that photo trigger, much smaller than we previously had thought. That was some Janet doorway shenanigans. We affectionately named some of the more common troublesome NPCs. There's an NPC right outside that happy hut. She can sometimes just walk right into the door and you can't do anything about it. I guess you could despawn her, but still just an annoying time loss. There's a few other NPCs throughout the run that will just sometimes walk directly into your path. So Hunter dealing with Graveyard here is another very high spawn plated area. Lots of really sketchy enemies here, so he's gonna be very careful with his movement, move very specifically and trying to get through safe.
Interesting. Hunter didn't go above the tombstones there. I believe above the tombstones there's a line that avoids a lot more of the spawn plates.
You can kind of play around with some of the spawn plates here and get some of those movement despawns. So Vice dealing with Car Painter here. He looks like he's got a good amount of psychic points. See if he gets his second rocking off here. Looks like he's opting not to. It's too late. The psychic shield's up, so at least he's got 2 life ups if he needs them. Oh, there's Car Painter down. Very nice. So again, from Hunter, just another storyline interlude where we get to our next section of the run, which is Winters. So we're going to get a chance to see Vice deal with the Mole Death Warp. There's definitely like a few kind of trees you can branch out on when Paula rejoins. There's kind of different approaches to the Death Warp, or some people walk back, just straight walk back to Tucson. A lot of these things are dependent on what Ness's HP is at and how much shenaniganry you're willing to deal with. Mole typically is up to a lot of shenanigans.
Jeff just received the a bent key from the professor over there, and it turns out that the key to the locker doesn't work. He'll have to go back now and get the bad key machine. A little bit of mandatory training there for getting Ness Impala out of the tomb in Threed.
So we saw Hunter drop the spray can, which is kind of another one of those newer strats this year. What he's avoiding there is getting the text when he sleeps in the tent. We're seeing Vice kind of deal with some mole shenanigans, many misses from the mole. This is what'll happen. Okay, he got him. That's good. Well, a lot of times you'll be right down to within lethal, and Mole just ends up bashing himself in the face. Which, come on, man, just kill me.
As much as there is a divide over the community's feelings on Jeff, whether or not you like him, or love him, or hate him, Bubble Monkey joined the party, which I believe we can all agree is universally one of the worst characters in the series.
Oh, yeah, they make quite the duo, those two. Definitely makes this part of the run very enjoyable, having both Jeff and BM. So Hunter taking that dogfight. Most runners you'll see, especially in Boogie Percent, if they see that dog, they'll just fight it. The reason being, gives you a level and 50-50 chance on a bread roll, which Hunter did get there, and that's going to make the upcoming Protoplasm fight very, well, not very safe, but very much more safe, simply because he got those extra hit points and that extra healing item.
Hunter was trying to go for the green swirl with the Bubble Monkey from behind, but unfortunately it just didn't work out, and the dog caught up too fast.
Yeah, at that point, if you green swirl that dog, you'll just one-shot it. Another photo skip from Hunter there. You don't notice it, but he did skip a photo in front of that tent.
Just like in front of the Chaos Theater, if you had to drop down 1 or 2 pixels, you'll be ending up in that photo trigger.
Yeah, not the toughest skips in the game. They're pretty simple to pick up. You can mess them up a little bit if your movement's off, but just one of those things that saves you some time, as opposed to going above the tent. You can go below and still avoid that photo. And can we get some Tessie hype in chat? Some hype for this majestic beast. And pardon the short moment of silence and commentary out of respect for our Lord and Savior Tessie. Good night, you majestic prince.
Now, immediately following the sequence here, you'll see Hunter swing down diagonally left, avoiding a 100% spawn plate for a gruff goat in those trees. By making that swing, you avoid the goat and able to move on to the toughest boss in the game, the worthless Protoplasm.
As you see this commonly referred to as the hardest enemy in Earthbound. This guy will kill you, and he will kill you often simply because of how low of a level Jeff is. We don't have time to grind because it's a speed run, save the frames, etc. He has a great fight there. Got right through, took no damage, used no healing items. That was perfect.
That was really nice. Against an intimidating 38 HP, 11 offense, and 21 defense.
Worthless Protoplasm weighing in.
And with an impressive speed of 27, which is the thing that gets the runners. If a second protoplasm joins, one of the strats you can employ is defending until about turn 5 or 6 to try and run away. Because with Jeff's speed, you're starting with about a negative 25% chance at running.
You saw Hunter sort of trying to bait the duck downwards. He was trying to go for a fight skip there, but duck just wasn't cooperating, so cut his losses, took the fight, and move on. I'll try to skip the next fight, but this next skip is heavily dependent on Bubble Monkey. If it was up to just Jeff, this skip would be free every single time. Oh, and he gets it. Bubble Monkey cooperates. Oh, nice protoplasm skip from Hunter there. You saw him kind of do a little movement left-right before going for that skip. The idea there is to just force a detachment from Monkey in hopes that he'll reattach and not detach again anytime soon. And Hunter going for some courageous stutter steps here. This is some good stuff. You don't see this too often from runners.
It's a very risky move because these spawn plates have a very high chance of spawning, and if there was something there, he would have been pincered.
Yeah, looks like Vyse got the photo trigger outside Chaos, even with the left side bus. Yeah, so it's very risky stuttering these enemies here. Like Airfram said, you can definitely get caught with enemies on the left side of the screen, but Hunter's skilled enough. Oh, never mind. It looks like he almost had it, but he's going to have to deal with this fight.
Yeah, it's something the runners keep in mind as they're doing the stuttering. The enemies latch on to the lead party character's position, and as you're moving through, keeping a track of where Bubble Monkey is going to be in the path is something you need to keep track of, whether or not you're going to get the green swirl or red swirl, or whether or not it's just not going to completely work.
And Hunter wisely choosing to take down the mouse first. You want to get that guy out of there as soon as possible. He's going to be the main damage dealer of the two. The slug is pretty harmless.
As weak as Jeff is able to take out a single slug by himself, so it is no threat.
Yeah, those slugs are the same as the ones we saw on it with Ness. The mice have kind of a unique stat. They really only hit for one, but their gut stat is really juiced up there. So you see the mice get a smash off quite a bit, which will hit you upwards for 15, which is very substantial with where Jeff's HP is at. Hunter gonna lose some frames here with that Bubble Monkey position. Oh, more than frames. Yikes. Typically you see a lot of runners just shake back and forth there to get the monkey back to Jeff. You kind of take the long way there. And you notice Monkey also walks all the way back, which is also helpful.
I see a question in chat. The slugs need about 5 rounds before they're able to focus, and on that 6th round, they can start using Brain Shock.
I'm just gonna put the kid down for nap time. I see Hunter kind of knowing he can get past that mushroom with that wall separating them, and he'll just move right along. I see a lot of runners just respawn and despawn that section just until they get favorable spawns so they can sneak around that wall.
And with that, our quality time with Bubble Monkey is over. He sees Monkey Girl and Ghost chases Monkey Tail.
Lest we forget, he is a monkey and he's got his mating rituals he's got to get down with.
Story-wise, you now meet up with Dr. Ann Donuts, Jeff's father. He says, "Hi, why you here?" Makes some small talk and says goodbye and puts you off on the Skyrunner.
Yeah, pretty much. Hey, I haven't seen you in 20 years. Here's my UFO. Here's the door. Have fun. I've lived roughly a 10-minute walk away from you for your entire life and never once came to see you.
Now it's the Skyrunner sequence, which is a very nice input break in the middle of a 4+ hour run. Not so much needed for Boogie percent, but it's still a nice input break with some very nice music. One of my personal favorite tracks. Temple, what's one of your favorite tracks from the series?
Man, it changes all the time, and I'll change it even during runs. I'll be like, nope, this is my favorite track. But lately, I'm gonna say Four-Side Theme is up there, and Lost Underworld theme is also one of my favorites. How about yourself, aside from the Skywalker?
I love the Skyrunner. I'm also a big fan of the Moon side, just because it's a little wacky, but not as wacky as Dungeon Man. I just don't like that track. But no, I like the touch of the Star Spangled Banner in the background of the Moon side music there.
Yeah, the Moonside music is great, and actually the original song it's based off of is also pretty decent. Well, Hunter definitely on great pace here. Looks like he'll cut the 110 if everything goes smoothly, which is fantastic Boogie Tent time. Anything sub 110 is very competitive.
You know, Temple, I'm surprised you didn't say anything about the bike music. I thought that would have been your favorite with the favorite of bike percent recently.
I wouldn't say it's my favorite, but I do hear it a lot, yes.
Jeff will now be joining up at the party after crashing the Skyrunner. You do have an option as the party to say no, and Jeff will whine a little, saying, "Then why'd you call me here? Make fun of me?" You eventually have to say yes, and Jeff will join the party. And Hunter looked like he was trying to go for the lineup for the text skip there. If you just stop short of the door there and use the bad key machine, you're able to skip the text that the door is locked, like you do in ONET for the broken down shack.
Oh, and Hunter opting out of the teddy bear. Interesting move. The teddy bear in the trash can up there. You have 90% of the time you'll see runners grab that because it gives you a better chance against Boogie Tent. But it looks like Hunter's going to forego. He's going to pop that sandwich. He is really shooting for the sub 110 here. And it does not work. At least he's going to get that BBR off. That does help.
And the BBR did hit for 526, which takes off a large chunk of health of the 579 that Boogie Tent has.
It's actually definitely a decent strat. Just defending with both kids and guaranteeing that bottle rocket to get off. Even if Jeff dies, which we saw happen there.
Yep, another one of the strategies that you'll see commonly used by runner is Ness will use rocking. Paulo, you use a psychic attack, freeze or fire if fire became available, and then Jeff will use the BBR, but you do have the risk of Jeff dying before the big bottle rocket getting off.
It's a good point by James. It's you kind of hoping for a kid to die there. And Hunter's going to take this one. 109 flat. That time on stream is the official time.
So with the different approaches to Boogie Tent, Temple, what's your approach to taking down Boogie Tent?
Personally, I do the rock and freeze BBR strat just in hopes of getting a solidify with the freeze. But man, that defend rocket definitely works. I mean, even worst case scenario, that it's still unless the BBR does ridiculously low damage, but I like that strat. And here we have MS Paint Beast again. So I'm not sure if we're gonna jump right into the Metroid Fusion race. I know we got kind of a late jump on this race, so I'm not sure if we're gonna see Vice finish this one out or if we're gonna jump right into Metroid Fusion. Looks like we're looking into that now. So for now, we'll keep the commentary going. Looks like Hunter's showing off some tricks you'll see in any percent, which is cliff skipping. One of the major glitches in the game. Vice making his way towards hardest enemy in EarthBound. That's a nice stuck spray. Oh, okay, you got him out. Yep, Metroid Fusion will be up next.
And with that, Hunter has shown off one of the tricks used for any percent or no out of bounds to skip the Peaceful Rest Valley sequence, the Car Painter sequence, and go straight to Threed.
Yeah, like one of the bigger glitches you'll see in the any percent run.
Is he going for the new one too to get back into Tucson there?
Looks like he's trying to get the ghost to do a little dance. There he goes. Yep, the old ghost boogie. Very nice. Good stuff, Hunter. On a nice protoplasm skip from Vice there. Both runners getting the second protoplasm skip. And Hunter is having himself a little dance party with ghosts. Good stuff, good stuff. There's another somewhat new glitch that's been found. We're gonna jump right into bike percent. Wow, Hunter, you are rocking my universe right now. He's got like a meme percent route ready to go here. This is great.
Temple, for those of us that aren't very well experienced with it, what is bike percent?
So bike percent is another newer glitch that's been found. We've found a lot of new things lately. Most of them serve no real purpose yet. But so what Hunter's trying to do here, he's gonna rally up 10 NPCs with that bike. The bike allows you to move 30% faster than Ness, so you're moving at 130% speed. He's gonna try to rally up 10 NPCs, hit a sprite limit in the game, and consequently crash it. We'll see if he can pull that off. It's not as easy as it looks. Quite the fun newer meme category that's come out. So Hunter is just going to try to stack upwards of 10 NPCs here, and he's going to try to crash the game with hitting a sprite limit. And Vice with chicken percent. Love me a chicken in EarthBound. He must have got to drop off one of the enemies. Vice successfully making it through Winters. Well, I shouldn't say anything yet. He's got to get past Cave Boys, but he does. He's going to make his way to Boogie Tent.
If you
Just on screen, blessed.
if you were to unfortunately get in an encounter with one of those cave boys out at Stonehenge, that is not a very good time because those cave boys are stupidly fast, and your chances of running, I don't think, exist before you die. Do they, Temple?
Well, the tricky thing is there's two types of cave boys there. They actually change later in the game, and you get a more advanced version of the cave boy. But yeah, they're very difficult to run away from either way. Definitely fighting one of those cave boys is a rip. Vyse getting that lovely chicken cluck mid-flight.
Yeah, looking at the stats of the cave boy here, the first time around it has a speed of 5, and the second time it has a speed of like 79. So yeah, the more advanced version is definitely something else.
Yeah, it's amongst either the top 3 or 4 highest speeds in the entire game. Let's take this moment to thank Speed Gaming and Feasel for having us throughout this whole thing. There's still tons of races to come. We're barely into the first round here of 3. So I just want to thank Speed Gaming for having us on. If you're interested in Earthbound speedruns, be sure to follow the runners. You can also check out speedrun.com/earthbound. You'll find plenty of resources on there. Follow any runner you please, and got a pretty active community, lots of streams happening all the time, so definitely check it out if it's something that interests you, and yeah, we're happy to have new people.
I'd also like to take this moment to thank Daniel for organizing the brackets, and Temple, D-Rock, and Andy for administering this tournament as well. Thank you guys for all the work that you put into this so far.
It's our pleasure. It's always a really, really fun time every year. This is our 3rd year doing it, and I don't see us stopping. It's always just a really, really fun time. Great way to get the community to come together and have fun. Yeah, so for Hunter, once you start getting up to those 10 NPCs, the lag becomes very noticeable, and that's again where the glitch is going to come into play. So he's going to take this bike up to Berglund Park, and that's where the NPCs really get out of hand, and hopefully we'll see some cool stuff. Depends on the Berglund Park bouncer here. Looks like he's being a bro, so should see some cool stuff from Hunter coming up here.
Temple, when there's this much lag from all this, does the bike get any easier to control?
Not really. The hitbox on the bike is massive. It's like a tank, so it's tough. And Hunter's looks like got into the fight here, which I don't know what he's fighting or what's happening, but he's fighting something.
AdmiralVyse here is getting ready for the Boogie tent, choosing to pick up the teddy bear for the 75% chance that Boogie's attacks, pending that it's not Flash, will go after the teddy bear instead of one of the kids.
And Hunter is actually hard locked now. Once the game decides to recognize what you're fighting, it kind of craps itself and stops working. So that is a hard lock for Hunter. See how Boogie tent goes for Vyse here. Oh, Paula's dead. That's actually a good thing. That's going to save him some time. Paula dying is actually one of the better things that can happen here in Boogie percent.
Very nice BBR damage there too.
Yep, he's going to finish. GG's to both racers. He's going to save some time here with the level up sequence, since Paula's not going to get any experience. And that is going to be a PB for Vyse. Let's see what he gets for our time here, since this is going to be our official timing. Looks like 120 on the dot. Nice round numbers from both runners. 109 flat for Hunter and a 120 flat for AdmiralVyse. And that is going to do it for this race. Both runners have defeated the Boogie Tent. GG's to both runners. We are going to jump right into Metroid Fusion since we've run kind of late on this one. So thanks to those guys for holding off for a minute, letting us finish this one. And yeah, thanks Airfram for the co-commentary.
No problem. Thanks for letting me jump on Temple. Thanks everyone for coming out tonight.